Hi, guys, and welcome back to Girls Gone Legal.
Please be advised we are speaking in our own individual capacities and not representing any companies we may work for.
We are not your lawyers, and any information given during this podcast does not constitute as legal advice and is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Enjoy the episode.
As we move through the spring semester, the reality check is real. The bar exam is officially on the horizon. Not in a panic way, but in a this is coming whether I like it or not. That is exactly why Themis Bar Review makes so much sense. Bar prep has this way of sitting in the back of your mind. You can catch yourself thinking about the July 2026 bar all the time. But the good news is it does not have to feel overwhelming or chaotic. You don't have to spend semesters stressing about what bar prep course is best or putting off planning until the last minute. Themis gives you a clear, trustworthy study plan with everything you need to know to pass the bar exam, including every Themis course. There is no guessing. There is no balancing between platforms. Just a clear path forward so you can focus on school now and feel more in control later. Their lectures are broken into short 15 to 20-minute chapters backed by research in memory retention. So you are learning in a way that actually sticks. Everything lives in one easy-to-use platform with forward-thinking tools that help you stay consistent without burning out. And you are not on your own with Themis. You get a full personal success team, including attorney advisors and a dedicated essay grader, real humans who hold you accountable. They check in and they help you through the tough spots. Their performance analytics also show you exactly where you stand, so you are never guessing or spiraling over progress. The second semester is about being smart with your time and your future. Bar prep does not have to be something that you fear when it comes to the program. It gives you clear study programs and a team you trust. Trust the process, trust the plan, and trust Themis. Thank you, Themis, for sponsoring this episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like last couple of weeks, we have Nicole is still out. Timeline-wise, she's just currently actually today writing the Florida bar exam. So sending her good vibes and good luck out there. But this is another solo episode for me, half solo, because I do have such an amazing guest coming on today. So if everybody can please welcome Taylor. So I'll tell you a little bit about her. This is Taylor McGlashan. She is a Houston-based corporate attorney at Vorys, where she intentionally built and manufactured a practice spanning mergers, acquisitions, franchising, sports, and entertainment law. She advises public and private companies on complex transactions, securities compliance, and corporate governance, while also working with franchisors to build and scale franchisee systems. In parallel, Taylor has grown a strong personal brand and practice in the sports and entertainment space, representing athletes, creators, and influencers in NIL deals, brand partnerships, and player engagement agreements. She has worked on high-profile matters and regularly speaks on risk management and contract strategy. While earning her JD from the Ohio State University at Moritz College of Law, Taylor interned with her current firm and served as legal intern for the Big Ten Conference and worked with Ohio State's Athletic Compliance Office. She was the president of the Black Law Students Association and a staff member and online editor at the Ohio State Business Law Journal, where she had 2 notes published. Taylor earned her BS in Business Administration from High Point University, where she was also a scholar athlete on the women's basketball team. Welcome, Taylor.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Did that so well.
I know, I'm like, it was a bit of a mouthful, but honestly, it's like, it just keeps getting, I love bios like this where it's like, it keeps getting better and better. You're like, wait, there's more. Wait, and she's a varsity athlete. It's like, it's amazing.
No, that was great. Thank you for that.
Of course. I told kind of our listeners a little bit about you, but now I'm like, I've blabbered enough. I'll let you kind of take it away. I would love to hear a little bit about you, and I'm sure our listeners would, especially starting from the beginning. So kind of what initially from the get-go sparked your interest in law or pursuing law?
Yeah, I was not one of those girls who knew their whole life they wanted to be a lawyer. I did not have dreams of being a judge. I enjoyed Legally Blonde.
Yeah, we all did, right? That was always a factor for all of us.
Yeah, that was it. Really, I thought that was cool, but I never really thought about it. Like you read in my bio, I was a Division I athlete in college. I played women's basketball. I got my degree in business, and that's pretty much all I knew. I didn't really know after that. I thought a business degree was the most flexible as far as work.
I was a business degree as well, undergrad.
Yeah, I was like, this could kind of apply to anything, and I'm business minded, so we'll see. But I didn't have career goals. I just played basketball. That's all I knew. I never had a job, no experience, never had an internship, never did any of those things. I just played basketball, and I was good at school. So, like, those things worked out. And so after I finished basketball, got my degree, I didn't know what to do. I graduated a semester early, and I started applying for roles. I didn't know what, am I supposed to work on Wall Street now? Like, I don't know. Like, what do I do now? I don't know. And it was really hard to get a job. Yes. I thought all you needed was a degree. That's what they tell you, right? Go to college, get a degree, you're good. It was not good. It was really hard to get a job. And I didn't really know what I was passionate about. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. All I knew how to do was be an athlete. And so I did get some roles, like I worked the front desk at a gym. I was a waitress. I was an assistant wedding coordinator. In that time, I was like thinking about careers. And I was inspired one day by an agent, an NFL agent. Her name is Nicole Lynn. She was the first Black woman to have the 3rd pick in the NFL draft, which I thought was so impressive around that time. And I found her on social media, and I was just like blown away by that story. And so naturally, I just Googled her and looked up everything about her that I possibly could. And I was really inspired by her background. She had a business degree. She went to law school. She was a civil litigator prior to being an agent. And she just had a passion for athletes and then their advocacy. And that really hit home for me. Being an athlete, I just know what that can look like. I have friends and myself, like, you go through a lot of things, and not having good representation or people on your team looking out for you matters. And so I liked that idea. I wanted to take it and make it my own, right? Like, what can I do with a business background, a passion for sports, and what can I do to make my own career path? And to me, it was like, I don't have a set plan, but I think step 1 is going to law school. That's what I think. I think, because despite whatever happens, whether my ideas change, my passions change, or whatever changes, I'll have the credentials of being an attorney, and I can do whatever I want with that, right? Like, you can do whatever. I can practice any kind of law. I'll have the license, like, why not? And so that was literally the deciding factor. Like, I found this woman, I thought this was really cool, and I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to law school. And she was like, you are? And I said, I am. I need some money to buy some books. To start studying for the LSAT. And that was it. Wow. That was literally it. And I started applying to schools, and I applied to like 15 schools because I was like, I don't know anything about law school. I don't even know if I can even get in. I graduated with a really good GPA. Like, so, I was like, that's cool. But like, is this enough? I have no idea, because it was never a focus of mine. So I was really nervous. I got into most of the schools, so I was like, we're good. It's like someone. And eventually I got into Ohio State, and I was so happy about that. I had a teammate that was actually started at Ohio State's dental school, so I was like, oh, this works out nicely. I'm gonna go there. And it's been great ever since.
That's amazing. I mean, I think a point that you touched on that we have yet to talk about on the podcast, but I think is so important, is that the thought process that you had at the beginning, thinking, I don't know anything else but being an athlete. And it's something, especially as, I come from the art space, I've been an actor my whole life, but it's kind of similar mentality of like, you've done this sport or this art for so long that's kind of become your identity, and you have to start kind of taking a step back and realizing, what am I outside of this? And it's amazing that you're able to kind of find this intersect between that like passion for sport while now this new love of like the legal side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been really nice to get into all the spaces here and places here, and it's had its challenges. Even going to law school, I didn't know how to do a lot of things because I was an athlete in undergrad. Like, it's really cool being an athlete. People love the athletes, but unfortunately, some things are a little bit of a disservice. I didn't know how to sign up for classes.
Right. Wow, I didn't think about that.
I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to buy books. Not hard problems to have.
Right, but a different learning curve.
I didn't learn that. Right. And so I felt there was times, even like going to office hours or certain things to like do when you engage with the professor, like I didn't do that. Right. Like, because it just was different in undergrad. Yeah. So I constantly felt, it also didn't help that my entire first year was online because it was COVID.
Year, so you had to like learn and then relearn when it was back in person.
Yeah. Like my entire first year was online, so I didn't get to really meet anybody. I didn't really it was crazy. Right. So that combined with like me already like being an athlete and trying to figure out schooling without the sport part, like I always felt like people knew something I didn't know.
Right.
I always felt like I didn't.
It's the
like, I
imposter
don't know what's
syndrome
going
then
on.
coming in too.
Yeah. Yes. Like constantly. And it wasn't like people get imposter syndrome in different ways. Like, am I smart enough to be here? Am I this? Am I that? But mine really was the like, I just feel like people know what to do all the time. And I don't know what to do. And like, I need a little bit of a handhold here because I'm confused about this. I don't even know how to do it. So that was hard for me, and that was an adjustment. But I've been able to pave my own way throughout all of this, and that's been really, really fun to do, and still staying authentically myself in the process. And now I get to practice in a space where I get to do that. I still get to engage with athletes and be in the sports space and do that. And also I'm a corporate attorney, so I do business transactions, and it all just kind of intertwines together. So it's a lot
for
of fun.
Sure. And then, I mean, my brother is a varsity athlete too, so I talk to him all the time, and I'm like, use your resources, but I never thought about the other side of it, of what happens when you don't have those resources anymore. But, I mean, on the other side of it, I'm sure there are plenty, but is there anything that sticks out to you about how playing D1, any sport really, would shape who you are and how you are now?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the biggest parts of who I am today, and everything I've been through. It's my approach to anything, even in work. Like being an attorney, I think being an athlete is my greatest asset. There's not a lot of attorneys that were former D1 athletes, or pro athletes or anything of that nature. Like that's not common. And I just think that there is a mindset and a diligence that athletes have that most people do not. And it shapes my morals and values. It shapes my ability to be a team player. It shapes my ability to be able to get things done. That's like my motto. Like I get things done. I'm a doer. Like doesn't matter what it is. Like fourth quarter, 3 seconds left. Like I'm gonna get it done. That's how I think about my work. Like I am diligent. I am responsive. In college, 10 minutes early was on time. Anything that wasn't 10 minutes early, you're late. That's how you learn on a team. And that's a different rule for every team, but like you learn to be early all the time. So that's how I think about my work. Being early, being responsive. That was the thing. We had to be responsive. If we didn't respond to our director of ops emails or texts, like we were on the baseline running for days. So, like it instills a lot of values in you and a lot of characteristics that translate really well to working. I'm also just generally a high achiever. I'm a high achiever. I'm a go-getter. So when I do my work, like that is my goal all the time, right? I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to figure out why wasn't something good? How can this be better? Even if you've given me a lot of positive things, like something could be better. So like, let's talk about what could be better. And just asking clarifying questions. Like you have to do those things and you have to think really analytically, honestly, a lot in sports too. That's what builds your IQ. And so in the workplace, you have to do the same thing. How are you going to know how to do this job if you don't ask the questions and you don't analyze and you don't think about it differently? And so I try to apply that in this space because you don't learn how to be a lawyer in law school. No. You learn how to be a lawyer when you start lawyering, and so it's experiential, just like whatever game you play is. It's experiential. So I think it translates well, and being in this space has allowed me to take those athletic abilities and how it's formed and shaped my mind and do what I can to be successful in this workspace as well.
No, 100%. I think that's like you like hit the nose on the tee. That's not the right saying. The nail on the head. There, that was nail on the head there. But it's like a different kind of grind that I think you have as an athlete, and I think anyone can see that. I think it's they say if you were an athlete at any level, it's definitely something to put on your resume because it shows like you have a different level of grind is I think the best word to use. I guess pivoting to your now like legal or still kind of in that law school time, but when you decided to specifically pursue like the business and corporate side, what made you make that decision, and kind of like your thought process around that?
Yeah, so pursuing the business and corporate side was also like an initial decision too. Like when I decided to go to law school, that was like that was like number two. Like, okay, I'm going to go to law school and then like I'm going to pursue business. Right. And like you'd think, well, why? Like you were inspired by this agent and athletes, and like why would you do something like that? For me, first and foremost, my degree was in business. So like to me, that sounded like the most transferable, right? Now, did I know what a corporate attorney did? No, I had no idea. As a corporate business,
sounds right.
It's the same, So to me, that's, I just thought like contracts, like a contract. So like that makes sense, and that sounds like what I want to do, whether it's in the sports space or not. Like contract sounds interesting, and I have this business mind and business background. So that was number one, and then number two was just like, I'm passionate right now about sports, and I think I'll always be passionate about sports. I've never worked in sports though, and I don't know what that looks like. And so for me, I don't operate in a space where I have end goals. I don't think that there is a cap on my potential. I don't write my plan. My plan's been already written for me. I'm a woman of faith and high value, and so like I have an idea. I have a plan for myself. I think I want to do this thing. But that ultimately might not be what happens. And if that is the case, how can I situate myself to have other options? And so I didn't want to just go into the space and come out and try to be a sports attorney. I wanted to be a business attorney. Yeah. And that can apply to whatever you want to call it, right? Any industry, you can have that. And then use those skills to pursue sports if that was still in the cards for me. And that in general, even the skill set, like I just think that there was, and I didn't even know this at the time, but I thought about it, but now that I'm in it, I know that this is true. But there's just a skill set that you learn being that kind of attorney. There's a level of detail that you probably never thought you could reach before. I thought I was super detail oriented before.
And then you get to law school.
Yeah. And I went to law school and I was like, whoa. And then I started practicing and I was like, whoa. And I was like, oh, there's levels to this. And so I realized like there's an attention to detail to learn here. There's an understanding of provisions to learn here. There's an understanding of negotiation and how a transaction plays out. There's business, there's different people in this team that you have to figure out how does this flow and what documents are necessary. Like there's just so many pieces that you need to learn. And you could jump into a sports space and learn that for sure. And I think that there's a lot of experience in the sports space that's really important. But when you know the basics of business transactions, you're good. Like, you know what I mean? Like
you can pivot so much from that. For sure.
The pivot is easier. If you go into sports and you're just in sports, like you're just in sports, and it's a more broad because like sports that is an industry. It's not like an area of law practice.
I know people say sports law. I'm like, okay, elaborate here. Like
and people ask that all the time. I'm like, okay, like sports, like we use sports law as like a little short form, but like it's really the industry, and multiple areas of law touch the industry, right? Sure. You have labor and employment, you have IP, you have litigation, you have you have all those things in the industry. And so if you jump right into that too, like there's a higher likelihood that you're gonna just be really broad. It's not gonna be super niche down to anything specific, because you got to touch all these topics in this industry, right? Sure. And so knowing that transactions made the most sense to me, like I wanted to niche down and get really good at that thing so that I could take that with me and apply it everywhere else, wherever I wanted to do it. So it's been really cool. It's been really great. And I just enjoy the level of learning that I've been able to get doing that. So.
And if you don't mind, like walking us through the process on like, I mean, I know the position you're in right now, you originally were at this firm as an intern. What was that like? I mean, as a law student, I know we have a lot of people on our team, on our viewers that are in that stage right now, like just trying to scrap and find those internships. What was it like getting that? And then when did you were sitting in the position realizing, oh, I want to return here. This is something that I like doing, being at this firm. And what was that process like?
So my process was a little bit unique. I know that recruiting has changed a little bit today. But for me at the time, I was recruited in, November of my 1L year, which was like not typical.
Wow.
Yeah, like that was not.
If I knew where I was gonna be my 1L, I'd be like, this is great. I love law school.
Yeah, like, and they're like doing that now. Like that's like a thing now because it's like moving up and up and up. So like they are like offering 1Ls like the second they step foot on campus. Like that is happening now. But like when I started in 2020, 2021, and prior to that, like that was not a thing. Like you waited until OCIs were over. Like offers were not going out. So for me, when I first started, because I had never done school the way I was doing school for the first time, and I moved from New York at the time to Ohio for school. And so I'd never lived in Ohio before. I don't know, I'm from South Jersey. I don't know if anyone, if I looked that. I'm from South Jersey, but I was living in New York at the time. And, you know, I moved to Ohio. I'd never been to Ohio. Well, I'm lying. I had been to Ohio. I had games in Ohio. But
not for a long period of time. You're like, I visited.
I never lived there. It was my first time like living on my own, like not like in undergrad with my teammates, like living by myself, my own apartment, like my own everything. And you know, I didn't know anybody or anyone, and I didn't know anything about the legal space. I didn't know what a law firm. I couldn't name a law firm. I couldn't name any of them. I didn't know what a law firm was. I didn't know what big law was. I didn't know what the courts were. I couldn't tell you what they were. I couldn't name anything. And so when I got there, I was like, okay, I need to ask someone, like, how do I do this thing? How do I do this law school thing, becoming a lawyer? What does this look like? And so we had orientation. And on the second day, maybe, of orientation, there was a career advisor. Her name's Sibel. She's amazing, fantastic, wonderful. Sibel, if you're watching this, love you. She's great. And so she spoke at orientation, and I just I liked her. Like, I just liked her vibe. I thought she was cool. And so I reached out to her during orientation. I was like, hey, you know, this is what I think I want to do. I don't really know, like, where to start. Like, would love some direction. And she pointed me to another Black female attorney who went to Ohio State, who was at that time an associate at the firm I work at right now. She was a senior associate. She's now a partner at the firm. And she was like, you know, you should meet, her name's Janae. You should meet Janae. I think you guys would really hit it off. She's really awesome. She's done X, Y, Z. And so she connected us. So I met with her. Again, really hard because, again, COVID time. So every meeting I had was a Zoom call. Nobody gets to meet me in person. And so we met over Zoom. We hit it off. Like, we talked. I think it went really well. We talked about her personal life. We talked about work. We talked about all kinds of stuff. And in that conversation, she then connected me with like 2 other people who connected me with some 2 other people. And I ended up meeting maybe like 4 to 5 people in that firm specifically. I actually met the hiring partner at the time, which I didn't really know.
Like, perfect.
But it was great. I didn't know. And, you know, I met some other attorneys in town. I met the in-house counsel for the Columbus Blue Jackets and a couple other people. It was really cool. But I just met people and talked. And then one day in November, they called me. And they said, hey, so we want to offer you a job to be a 1L, you know, summer associate with us. It's not contingent on your grades. So mind you, I hadn't taken an exam yet.
A dream.
So I got an offer. It's not contingent on my grades. Like, of course I'm still stressed about my grades. Like, I'm going to get my all in my finals, but like, I don't have the stress of like, oh, they're going to like take this away if I get X, Y, Z or whatever, right? Like, they were taking a chance on me. And I was like, okay. Like, they really resonated with my personality. They really liked me as a person, and that just worked for me. And so I was offered that 1L position. Now, I had to like really earn that 1L position. You know what I mean? So like 1L summer came, and I had to
needed that return offer, so you're working.
I had to perform like, oh, y'all didn't waste your money on me, I promise. You know, I had to perform that summer, you know, because you can take a chance on 1Ls, whether you've seen a grade or not. That's an investment a firm decides to take, but are you going to come back for another summer? Are they going to offer you a full-time job? Like, that you have to work for that. And so that's what I did. I did my first summer. I worked really hard. I met almost every single person in the firm I could possibly meet. I had coffees and lunches on rotation. I was talking to everybody. And, you know, I think something I always tell people is make sure people know who you are. You know, like if you want to build a brand, or you want to get a job, or whatever you want to do, like build a network, people have to know who you are. You can't just be really smart or good at what you do and, you know, and locked away somewhere. Nobody will know that, you know? So that's how people have to know who you are, know what you're about, and be able to put a face to something. And so that was my goal in being a summer, was like, I'm going to do really good work to the best of my ability. Right. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to talk to my mentor. You're given an associate mentor and a partner mentor. So I worked with them, and I talked to the other summers. I started with like 11 summers in the Columbus office. So there was a lot of us. And so, you know, I talked to them, and I just tried to stay really proactive, and I had a really good summer, and they offered me back for my 2L, and I did my 2L and did really well in my 2L. And they offered me a full-time job, and I started the firm. And I just think that there was a lot of people in the firm I really liked. I got to do all kinds of work, and it helped me figure out what I liked, what I didn't like. And that was nice. And the culture of the firm and the people was the best part of the firm. I think if you ask anybody in my firm, they'll tell you the people, like that's what everybody says, because it is like, there is a culture to the firm. Us being based in the Midwest gives a little bit of a different vibe than like if you were based in New York. And so people like still, you know, still demanding, still very high quality, but the people have like a little bit more care to them, I think. You know, I grew up on the East Coast, so it looks a little different than, you know, Midwest or the South. And so, you know, I think the people and the culture and the acceptance of me and the excitement about me and getting to know me really were the things that made me decide, like, you know, this is where I want to be. Like, this is a firm that I really like, and I can see myself here.
That's amazing. That's so special to be able to have that kind of experience with a firm, and especially on your kind of first shot at it, like right away out of the gates, having a good relationship and a good kind of experience altogether. What would you say and kind of describe your current kind of day-to-day looks like at the firm and the different things you get to work on?
Yeah, I mean, every day is different. It just kind of depends. I think in the transactional practice, it's very up and down, very up and down throughout the year. It's not as consistent as a labor and employment or a litigation. Like, those things are always happening. Somebody's suing somebody all the time. There's always stuff to do. It's ongoing. Cases last a long time. For us, deals can last a long time too. They're not usually years and years and years, but they can last long. So I think, you know, I was just thinking about this. I think, for example, something I worked on today was I had already worked on putting together some directors and shareholders actions for a company. And you have to do those when the company is deciding to do something with the company, right? And you have to look at the statute for that state, and you have to look at the bylaws and the you know, codes of regulation and the articles, and see what does that company, like, what do the rules of the company say you have to do if you're going to do something, right? If you're going to sell the company, if you're going to dissolve the company, if you're going to bring in a new shareholder, like if you're going to do something, usually your rules tell you what has to be done to do that thing. And so when you do that thing, you usually there's an action. It's either a written action, which is basically like, hey, we all decide that this is going to happen. Sign here. And so I had to draft some actions for something this company wants to do. And so I had to go over those with a partner today, the actions that I drafted, and then he had a question about something in the governing documents. So I met with our paralegals to say, hey, like, you know, is something missing here? Did we do something prior? Like, what's going on? And then I talked to my paralegal. We found what that thing was. I was like, okay, cool. This makes sense. Like, this part's not missing. So, like, that's something, like, you look at the governing documents of a company, you're drafting documents, and then, like, you talk with a paralegal who they know everything. And so you kind of figure out, like, what you need to do. So that's something like I did today. Common for a young associate is if you're on a deal, you're probably in charge of, or a big part of, the due diligence process. Due diligence process, what is that? That is when you're doing a deal. One company is buying another company, for example. Say that's what's happening here. And so if you're buying this company, you want to know everything that's going on with that company. What do they have going on? Do they have contracts with people? What did their governing documents say? Do they owe people money? Like, what's going on here? We want to know because we're going to buy you and own you now, and we got to know what's going on. And so due diligence is when that selling company gives you all the documents you're asking for about that company. And then you have to go through all of them. You got to read all of them, and then you got to track everything on a tracker. And usually that tracker is specific to what you're looking for. So you have your basic information, like name of the contract, name of the parties, termination, blah, blah, blah. And then you might have something like change of control. And you might be looking at like vendor contracts. Maybe that company has a contract with a really big vendor, and you're buying that company. So you want to take on that contract with that vendor because maybe you want to keep that relationship. Well, in that contract with the vendor, it might say, if you sell our company, like there's a change in control, which means somebody buys you and your ownership, this contract terminates. Doesn't exist anymore. So we want to know that because we need to decide, like, hey, do we want this relationship? Do we not? Are we going to lose it? Do we need to give them notice? Like, what do we need to do here? So those are things that we check, which then leads to, which I'll say the due diligence process could take the life of the deal. A lot of times in the beginning, but it could be continuing on throughout the life of the deal. And then we take all the information we find after we've gone through all these hundreds of contracts, and then we usually make a report, which is one big summary for the client to say, hey, here's what we found. Here are our red flags. Here are things we think you should consider. Do you have questions, right? And sometimes when we do due diligence, we have like follow-up requests, which that's something that a young associate is usually tasked with, is making a follow-up due diligence request list. Like, hey, you gave us these things, but we still need X, Y, and Z. And then maybe I need to do it again. You gave me something, it's just not adequate. And then you got to do it again and again, which is now fun because then you got like 5 supplemental requests.
The email thread is this long.
Like, please just give us what we asked for. Like, this is not whatever. So anyway, that's something. And then closing checklist. I would say that's like the last thing. Closing checklist. That's something you're usually tasked with, which is basically you're like the you're kind of like the quarterback of the deal, which I say that lightly because like the partner really is obviously controlling the deal, but like you keep everybody on pace. Like, so if you're creating a closing checklist, this has every single document or action that has to happen pre-closing, at closing, post-closing. And that's really important because, you know, you need to know like who is responsible for what. Did we get this done? Did we not get it done? And you might be tracking like, you know, our firm sent the draft of this thing to the other side on this date. Okay, we received it from them on this date. And like some partners are a little bit more technical about that and others are not. I worked in spaces where it's more technical. So like you update it very regularly. It's circulated regularly. And everybody's seeing what's going on with the life of the deal and the documents and where they are. And so that's something that you kind of are like on the background of like constantly keeping up with emails and what's going back and forth and things like that so that you can update this checklist of like where everything is at and people can see. And then just in general, you might, you know, revise some ancillary documents. You might draft some ancillary documents like a bill of sale. Might look at a lease agreement, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, each day could be a variety of those things. You sprinkle in some phone calls, some meetings.
Keep it fun and interesting.
Yes. Like, you know, meetings like, let's go over your red lines. Great. Let's go over them. You marked up my whole let's talk about it. But that's, you know, those things are sprinkled in there. But those are just some like key corporate things that like you might do in a day as an associate.
No, for sure. And is there has there been points where I know you mentioned being able to kind of in parallel work in the sports, NIL, personal brand, and that whole side of it. How are you able to kind of incorporate that into your role?
Yeah. So for me, I am like the corporate person on those deals. So yeah, it's really cool. We don't have a full-blown sports and entertainment practice at our firm. It's a developing practice, like a practice group. We don't have a practice group, but it's a developing practice, and I work with somebody more senior than me on that. He kind of heads it. He's an IP attorney, and he's had his hand in sports and entertainment for a while, and I expressed interest in that, and he's taken me on, and I basically work right under him on everything, and it's been really fun. And so I get to look at the documents from a corporate perspective, which I think one helps because a lot of times on that side, we are dealing with a contract that's being given by the other side. And so we have to mark it up, right? And so I need to be familiar with like, what does a proper contract look like, right? A lot of times, especially in the sports and entertainment space, if you don't have good counsel or you didn't get counsel's advice, that agreement is something you found on like a Google image search or something. Like it's not a good agreement. And so that's where my corporate knowledge comes in. I'm like, hey, like we need to mark this up for like the corporate stuff. Like there's no indemnification. There are no reps and warranties. Let's talk about that. Or maybe there are.
One-sided. Completely. Yeah.
That's not going to work.
I mean, always is like you keep signing up in perpetuity. Like we can't be doing this, people.
This is not. We are not doing that. Cut it right now. You know, so things like that you'll see, and you'll be able to point that out. Like, hey, like this is one-sided. Like, you know, because people, if you're not corporate or you're not really familiar with the contract, you're not really going to even know what indemnification says. I'm still
You have to draw the diagram. I'm always like, who's who?
Right. What claims? Like, what do you, like, you know, so like, you got to figure it out. But that's something like, it might, some people's eyes might glaze over. You don't really know what that's even saying. Those are some rights that you want to have. So I think about that when I'm doing the work. And I also, because I work under very detail-oriented partners, I naturally like will completely fix a document, right? Like you're not doing the defined terms right. This is not right. There are no defined terms, like, you know, or you use like 3 different text fonts on this agreement. Like we just got to clean that up, like, you know. So stuff like that I'll do too, and that's something I think you learn as an associate working under really detail-oriented partners. Like, you know, oh, this partner likes 2 spaces after a period. I see 2 spaces after a period in all my documents now. Like just like little stuff. And so like you figure out how to like, it's stuff that like the average person wouldn't know or wouldn't maybe even care about, but like, you know, and it's like this document should be fluid and like you should use the same sort of formatting and styling and grammar and whatever. So like stuff like that I look for. And then I get to look at the frame of not even corporate anymore, but like being an athlete. And somebody who's also just like on the internet and like I do my own deals. I do influencer deals and stuff like that for myself. So I know what it looks like if this is a good deal, is this not a good deal, or what you know, what are the terms, like what are the deliverables here? Are they realistic? Are they not realistic? So I think about those things as well. And I bring all those things into like that practice, and I think it's a lot of fun.
So you think kind of being an athlete as well as being in the influencer space has kind of added an extra layer when it comes to like you looking at these kind of deals?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I know what it means to be. So when I do those deals, I get to work on 3 sides of the ball is what I call it. And so that is the athlete influencer side, the individual. I also work on the institution side, which is representing a school, a college, a university, and then also representing the brand, a corporation, a company, a business that wants to do a deal with an individual as well. And so I get to see all sides of that. And so me knowing what it looks like from being the talent or being an athlete and what I would be interested in, I bring that into that space. Obviously, it helps the most when I'm thinking about like representing the athlete or the influencer, because it's like, okay, like
you can put yourself in those shoes pretty easily.
Put myself in, and I'm just familiar, so like I can get on that person's TikTok or Instagram, look at how they're doing, look at their engagement, look at their following, really speak about their brand. So that's something I've had to do in the past where, the other side wanted to have all their terms really heavy, right? And their reasoning, because we pushed back, and their reasoning was because like, oh, they're a big this, and they're just a major company and whatever. And my pushback was like, and so is my client.
Yeah.
My client is a major business, right? Like, you want them. That's why we're here, right? They are a major business. So why should this not be mutual, right? You think your reputation is more important than theirs? That's not going to work. It's just simply not going to work, And so those are things I do think about when I'm like advocating for an individual who is a business, right? And is trying to take up space in this space. how do I help them do that?
Right.
Then on the flip side, whether it's the college, the brand, the company, whatever, right? Well, I know what that side might be looking for, but I also, in my practice as a corporate attorney, like I only represent businesses.
So you also know the standard where you're like, you're doing too much.
Yeah. Like I also know what it means to be like, no, we're
right. You're like, that's me on Tuesday. Like I know how to do that.
You're just whatever. Like I get it. So that's where I kind of tap into that a little bit more, and it's like, how can I protect the business, the brand of the business, and the bigger picture here? And so I can play both sides there, and I think that it's to my advantage to be able to see both sides and know how to play both sides and know the strength and the weaknesses of both sides.
I mean, I think it's a great trait to have because I'm in some negotiation class right now and at school, and it's you can't go into it only thinking about what you want because realistically you're gonna get nowhere. So the fact that you know it so well on both sides is only like a positive.
Yes. Yeah, and you'll know what a negotiation looks like, and you know what makes sense, and you can take prior deals and negotiations and like use them as leverage in other deals and be like, no, like we've done this and this before. This is not like, you can't tell me this isn't market. This is what you've made up this standard right now
because we've done 6 years deals this month and it doesn't look like this.
Right, exactly. Like we've already done this, so I'll tell you. This is what it is. We've done this already. So it's a fun space. I'll say that it's a fun space. It's cool to be on all the sides,
and it's changing. It's changing so much in like a fun way. I find like I've been. My past experience has been in a lot of the influencer marketing deals, and like even in the last couple of years, like now we're seeing all these AI clauses that we were never seeing before. Like it's so interesting, like how quickly it's developing.
Yeah, lots of AI clauses, and it's something to take note of. Because I think it's something I talked about earlier today, actually, as something that I think athletes or influencers overlook. The fine print of like, which I don't even think it's really the fine print. It's just there. Just you don't know what it's saying, or you're not really recognizing it, or you don't have legal counsel to look at it for you and tell you like, hey, like you don't want this company business to have like
your
rights that allow to use you in AI or make you do this or change your voice or like you don't we don't want that. Like we need to protect that, you know.
No, for sure.
So it is ever changing. Like it is constantly changing. The space is changing every day. It's like something new, and so we're all just kind of figuring it out. But I think erring on the side of just trying to protect whoever the client is as much as possible is the key through all of it.
For sure. I would love to dive in a little bit on like when did you start the social media side? Like when did you say, oh, I actually want to start doing the social media?
So, I mean, like doing it like seriously was in law school. Like I like had YouTube before. Like I did a little bit of YouTube in undergrad, just like for fun. Like I just was always I was a YouTube girl. Like I was into YouTube. I watched YouTube videos. Like I had people I like.
Long form videos. You're like, I'm sad. I'm sitting there.
Like I love stuff like that. So I did stuff, but it wasn't really with the intention of like anything really happening. And then during COVID, I downloaded TikTok because my brother had it. My brother's 4 years younger than me, and I thought TikTok was like for kids. I was like, oh, but we don't. I was a Vine girl. Like we had Vine back in my day, back in the olden days. We had Vine, and Vine was the coolest thing ever. Now Vine is gone, and so I felt like TikTok was like the new Vine, and I was like, I feel like this is for like high school kids. Like my brother like just had left high school, was starting college, so it wasn't for my age group. So I was never on it. But then it was COVID, and there was nothing else to do, and so my brother was like, let's get on TikTok and make dances, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So we did, and it was fun. Like nothing happened. I was learning TikTok dances every day.
We all were.
I was like sweating, nothing. I was getting too loose, like whatever. And it was just fun. And then I started. So mind you, like COVID was like that March of 2020, and shut down like April, May, June, July, whatever. I started law school that August. So I moved from New York to Ohio in the middle of like the COVID shutdown. Things like just opened up when I started school in August. And so when I started school, I like never opened TikTok again. I was like, when else started, I tried to keep up with YouTube, couldn't do it. People to this day still ask me about YouTube. I'm like, I stopped October of my 1L year. And if you know anything about October of your 1L year, things go.
Like, I stopped everything actually. October of my 1L year, like.
things got really, really real. I got my midterms back. I said, oh yeah, I have to log in.
Cheers. Lots of cheers. I was like, what? I've never seen this grades in my life. Like, humbled instantly.
Oh, no. What do you mean I got the lowest midterm in the entire class?
What was the average? I was like, no.
Like, I know. Wait, I got what?
Very real.
I have to log in. But and I ended up doing well.
You need a scare. I always say that. I need a little bit of a scare, and then realize it's not undergrad. You need to kind of focus.
Yeah, and I was learning in a different way, and it just wasn't clicking for me yet. It took a second for me to start like understanding like how do you write an exam, like
and
how
legal,
what are you looking for?
Because I came from some backgrounds, like coming from the business background, like I knew none of this. I'm like, what, an IRAC? I was like, sorry, what? Like, is she what?
Right.
Like, I don't understand this. So it's learning how to learn, which was the first hurdle.
Yes, for sure. And so for me, like, I had to lock in. And so I didn't open TikTok again. I got through my first semester. Life was cool. Second semester started. It was like February maybe. I like accidentally touched the TikTok app on my phone. Like I just like hit it like randomly, right? It opened and I was like, oh, what is this? So I just like started scrolling a little bit and I was like, oh, like TikTok's kind of fun. Like I kind of like this. And so I made like 1 or 2 videos about like, I don't know. I did like a law school supplies video and then I did like one other video and it just was like nothing, like it was nothing. Like I just started doing, it was fun. Yeah. So like whatever. And then one day, there was a trending sound on TikTok. I think it was like actually an old trending sound, but it was new to me. So I was like, what is this? So I had one class in person the second semester of my 1L. It was leg reg. I don't know if every school has that. Okay. So leg reg. And it was in person. And so I drove to the law school and I parked outside the law school and I knew I had this sound that I was like, I think this is so funny. So like I just got my coffee and I had my sunglasses on and I just like recorded like over the sound. And I don't even know who sings the song, but it was like something like, I got all the drugs and he got all the guns. I don't even know what that sound is. But so that was very wild of me. But basically, I like made a video and the words on the screen were like point of view, like I don't know, like I'm on my way to my law school or I'm on the way to law school singing about drugs and guns. Like something so stupid, like whatever, like I don't even know, like something, whatever. Well, that resonated with a lot of people. I went into class and I came out of that class with 1 million views. I was like,
were you like, what did I just like, what is going on?
I was like, well, I looked at my phone in class and I was like, I looked at my 2 friends that I had in my class. And I was like,
I'm going viral.
I'm going viral right now. This has never happened before. And it's happening so fast. Yeah, it went viral. Wow. Millions of views, thousands and thousands of followers, and just kept going and going. It was like 1 million, 2 million, 3. I was like, oh my gosh. I guess I do TikTok now. Like
I am now a TikToker.
Like I am a TikToker.
Yes.
And so like I just started making more videos and like, my content has changed throughout the years and like how I talk and things I say. But for me, like my law school era was a lot of like, I'm gonna give you the real like of law school and like what I'm going through, what I'm not going through, what's happening. I also used to have I'm not like this anymore, but I had a very much like laugh at my pain, satire kind of humor. So like that worked really well in law school. Because all of law school is laugh at my pain. Like everything. So like, and I was like going through it. And so it's kind of like how I like dealt with the struggle of law school. Like it was like kind of like an outlet for me. And it was relatable to people because other people were struggling. And so I kind of like had some laugh at my pain content. I had some like educational content. I had some like day in my life and things I'm doing and things I'm a part of and all kinds of like law school content. And that's just kind of what hit. It just hit, it stuck. And then I had more videos go viral and stuff after that. And I was like, okay, like, well, this is just what I'm going to do now. And it just it took off. And I'm blessed in that regard because, I had no money in law school. And so for it to take off, like I did my first brand deal for like $100. Like in the spring of my 1L year. And like I don't remember who it was for, but I remember it was $100 and I was like, oh my gosh,
like, I can get used to this. I can keep making these.
Like I need that $100. Like I need groceries this week. I didn't work my 1L year like most don't. Ohio State doesn't let you unless you have like, circumstances to do so. So like I didn't work, and loan money was running
Yeah, because you were
out.
before, like, you couldn't get paid for NCAA NIL stuff, right?
No.
Because were you right on the
No.
cusp of it then?
Yes. Yeah. It was like right in between. Like it was literally like the years in between because NIL passed like that July after my first year of law school, and like I finished like a year and a half, 2 years before.
So you're
So like I
that's
missed
so so I mean, like,
it.
it's one of those things. I feel like you're like, it's so great for those athletes, but also like you couldn't do this 5
Yes,
years earlier.
like love that for you, but like
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do love it
Yeah.
for them, but yeah, it's hard. Like, you know, we miss out on that train, but I do enjoy being on this side now. But yeah, so I mean, I had money from like, I was unemployed because that's the thing too. Like, so when COVID hit, none of my jobs were important enough to keep working. So like, I was unemployed from March until all of my 1L year, really. I didn't have a job. Like, so it got to a point, it was just so funny because I was like, the timing was incredible because like I did start making money and it was enough money to like get me through the rest of my 1L year. And then like I summered that summer, and like I got paid at my firm that summer, and you make good money as a summer at the firms. So like I was like, oh, okay, so now I'm making real money over the summer. I got to see how long I can stretch this. And then I started getting more brand deals and started making a little bit of money here and there. And it just kind of like, it flowed. And so like, it just was really cool to see that. And now like I've been able to create a true like platform for myself that I want to continue to grow. And you know, I don't know. I just like telling people about like my life, what I'm doing, like giving you the real about whatever it is. And
we're
like,
all clearly interested. We're all still tuned in. So you're like, I'll just keep going. No, it's amazing. I think it's great that you're able to also be a great example of you don't have to give it up once you go into the corporate world. Like you can still have both and do it correctly, but you can still have both. So I think that's amazing.
Absolutely.
A little bit of like, we're running quick on time, but a couple more questions here. I mean, right now, current day and age is the perfect kind of time to talk about it, that like being a woman in sports is already something that is looked at differently, obviously, than the men in the same careers. Now you also are in a position where you're in corporate law, another industry that for many, many years has been very male dominant. What is your thoughts on kind of like how those two things kind of affected how you are today, and kind of your thoughts on where we're going with this?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always been the kind of person is like, I'm not interested in barriers. Like, I believe that they're there because they are. But for me, like I mentioned earlier, like there's no cap on my potential. There's no cap on what I can do. There's nothing I cannot do. Plain and simple. And so I think it's really powerful for me to even have that sort of mindset, because I want other people to see me and think that they can do what I'm doing or do it better. I want people to feel inspired. I want women to feel inspired by whatever I'm doing and feel like it's feasible for them. If you see anybody do something, then it's attainable, right? Like that's what I believe. Like it is always attainable. If somebody else can do it, you can do it. So as a woman in male-dominated spaces, like it's just always been my goal to just take up the space. You know, I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be authentically myself. I'm going to show up. I'm going to speak. I'm going to let people know who I am. I'm going to carry conversation, leave people wondering about me and like why I am the way I am, and wanting to know more about me, wanting to do business with me. Like that is how I think it's the best way to approach those spaces. I think you can't be timid in those spaces because they're already there as if they belong there. So like, why wouldn't you walk in there like you belong there? And I think that's really great advice that I think I've heard time and time again women give. Like, you gotta walk in there like you belong there, because you do. And I think in times like this where you do, there is more advocacy, right? Like women's sports, there's more advocacy. Like there's people watching women's sports today,
winning goals,
that like
watching them win gold. Like it's
insane, right? Like I think they just announced today, like the WNBA finally hit enough in revenue to be able to give rev share to their players. That's like
huge like for women's sports.
That's huge, right? It's still more work to do, but like huge, right? That's a step. And so it's really exciting to see that. It's really exciting to see like there is more to come, and there is a change happening, and there's a shift, and people are watching. People do care. It is exciting, right? We can get rid of the stigma that like women's sports isn't exciting. It is, right? And so like we get to see that. I think social media has been one of the biggest help and supports in showing that like women's sports is fun and cool, and women are fun and cool. Again, not just in sports, but in the legal space, in corporate space, like women get to show who they are. And I think social media is one of the biggest tools for women, like, right? Because we already don't have everybody on our side, right? Like the men are already like kind of like, okay, you belong here, you're this, you're that, you're so great, whatever. But like social media helps really push out like, no, we are here, we are successful, we can do this, we can do that. Like, and I've met so many other successful women through social media alone because of that. So I just think that's really great. And I just want to continue to be someone who can continue to pursue success and continue to like reach the ranks and do the things and be successful in this life, and just show people like that it's possible, and to continue to be inspiring for people that are younger than me, or they just want to do what I'm doing, or they just feel empowered to take what I'm doing and apply it to their own lives and do something completely different. Like whatever that looks like, you know, that is important to me. Like I mentioned, like I'm a woman of faith, and so like I want people to feel inspired by what I'm doing, and just believe that they can do anything, because I believe I can do anything. Like I have a God that can do all things, and so the way I operate is with that faith. And if that alone inspires somebody else, then I'm happy, you know.
That's amazing. I mean, our viewers know you almost wrapped it up there, but we always end the episode with one question, and it's just, if you were to send yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, however much time you need, one text message, one message, piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Oh man,
I know we never prep anyone for these, so we always put everyone on the spot.
No, one piece of advice or a message. Honestly, it would just be like, stay true to who you are, and always remember your value and your worth. And I say that just because it's so easy to get in the whirlwind of life and work and status and prestige and law and sport and whatever the world tells you is cool and whatever, and to lose your morals, lose your values, lose your faith, feel like your value as a person is placed in other people, in the success, in all this other stuff, and it's just simply not true. And I think people also feel like they have to be boxed in, specifically in the legal space. That's so traditional and blah blah blah, you know, like it's so easy to get locked in there because of what other people tell you. And so I think like if you do stay true to yourself, if you decide that you're going to be authentically yourself and not conform to what they tell you to do in this space, you will be more successful. You'll be able to do things that are beyond what you could have ever imagined because you decided to be true to yourself. And when you also remember that your value is not placed in a grade, in an employer, in a good job email, like nobody has control over your value. Like that is a faith thing. Nobody else can tell you who you are, and what you are. And so if you remember that, a lot of anxiety can be done away with. A lot of stress and, sadness and all that can be done away with because your value just goes beyond what any person on this earth can tell you about yourself. And I think carrying that with me would have made myself back in the day a little bit more calmer and peaceful. And I know today it has brought me so much peace, and it's a constant reminder for myself as I continue on in my career, in my life.
That's amazing. Well, thank you. I hope people hearing this can at least then take that with them who are in similar situations and trying to get that push through pre-law or law school or whatever it may be, and kind of keep that mentality, because I do think that's so important and easy to lose, like with all the world noise we have going on. So amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you honestly so much, Taylor, for coming on again. This was such an amazing conversation. It was so great talking to you. I know our viewers are gonna love it just as much as I love sitting here and talking to you. In the meantime, you guys know the drill. We post episodes every other Monday, so make sure to stay tuned. Follow us on all of our social media. So we have our Instagram, our LinkedIn, our YouTube, our Spotify, and all that fun stuff. So enjoy, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Stay stylish, stay sharp, and stay legal. Bye, guys.